Coming up here in a few minutes on Chicago Bears Now, we're going to dive into the latest trade buzz around this team. Both Jaylon Johnson and Jaquan Brisker have sounded off on radio on the recent trade rumors around the Chicago Bears, so I want to discuss all of that with you. My name is Harrison Graham, but first, let's get to a little bit of news here. The Bears have signed a quarterback. It is Trace McSorley, who a lot of you guys are probably familiar with due to his time at Penn State. He's bounced around the NFL quite a bit over the last few years. They have added him to the practice squad. Brad Biggs added this note as well, that McSorley got signed after a tryout that included two other quarterbacks, former Notre Dame quarterback Ian Book, who's also bounced around, and Virginia quarterback Bryce Perkins, who's been on a couple of teams as well, including the Rams, where I believe he started a game a year or two ago. But the Bears worked out three quarterbacks and ultimately settled on McSorley. And look, you look at the career for the kid, not much, right? Like, he's gotten into 9 games in his NFL career. He started a game with the Cardinals, I believe, last year. Just over 51%, 500 yards, 1 touchdown pass against 5 interceptions. QB rating of less than 50. He can run a little bit, has some dual threat ability, 79 rushing yards. I'll be pretty blunt here. Trace McSorley is not an NFL quarterback. He's not very good. I think he's a bright kid, which is why I think he keeps getting opportunities. A valuable player in the QB room. He can do some scout team stuff if you're going up against a mobile quarterback, so I guess there's value in that. But I think the clear reason they're bringing in quarterbacks to try out is due to Justin Fields' injury. We'll tie that part of it into it in just a little bit. But speaking of Penn State, speaking of the Big Ten, Trace McSorley, shout out your favorite college football team down in the comments. I want to know who you're repping on Saturdays. You guys know, at least most of you, that I am a TCU alum. Not as good this year as last year, unfortunately, but let me know who your squad is. I know we got a lot of Michigan fans on this channel, Ohio State, probably some Penn State fans, Northwestern. Let us know who your college squad is. You look at Trace McSorley's journey to the Chicago Bears. He did go to Penn State, where he put up a lot of good numbers. We'll take a look at that in a second. 6th-round pick out of the Ravens in 2019. Spent some time with the Cardinals in 2021 and 2022. Was signed and cut by the Patriots this offseason. Signed in April, got cut in August, and then now he finds himself on the Bears practice squad. Going back to his college days, was never the most accurate player. I mentioned this on our YouTube short we did earlier. He's not the most natural thrower of the football, but he put up some big numbers at Penn State. Almost 60%, almost 10,000 passing yards, 77 touchdowns, 1,600 rushing yards, 30 rushing touchdowns, that dual threat ability that you see. His last 2 seasons at Penn State, he's pretty damn good. I mean, him and Sam Darnold went toe-to-toe in an epic Rose Bowl several years ago. I remember that game like it was yesterday. Now, where does Justin Fields come into play with all this? Is this bad for Fields? Not in terms of Trace McSorley unseating Justin Fields, but is this a signal that the injury is not good? My immediate thought is that Fields might miss some extended time here. Now, maybe they just need a third quarterback, even if it is short-term. That could make some sense, but we already know he's probably not playing this week. Matt Eberflus called him doubtful. He said that we'll know more later in the week once they get the full results of the MRI and do some more testing. Eberflus is scheduled to talk again tomorrow, so we'll see if there's more of an update then. But if they're already working out quarterbacks and bringing one in, dislocated thumb, guys, like, he's going to miss time. Like, I think at minimum he's missing 2 weeks. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we learn more about that tomorrow. This is why you subscribe to the channel when Bears news drops. When they sign a player, we got you covered here on Chicago Bears Now. Hit that sub button. We recently crossed 77,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 78,000 as soon as possible. If you want more Bears coverage, hit that sub button, turn on those notifications. We've got you covered here on a daily basis here on Chicago Bears Now. And if you want to watch our video from earlier today, I talked about why Matt Eberflus is a joke. All right, let's get to some trade chatter. Jaylon Johnson, is he going to get traded? He seems to be the big name surrounding the Bears right now when it comes to potential trades. Johnson is aware of the trade rumors going on right now. He flat out said said it on 670 The Score with his weekly interview. He said 100%. I'd be a fool if I didn't. I'm not oblivious. I'm not blind. I'm not exempt. If you can trade Roquan, if you can trade Robert Quinn, you can trade anybody away. The Bears got to do what's best for them, and I got to do what's best for me. I'm not forcing anything, a.k.a. I'm not requesting a trade. I won't. Of course, as I've been saying since day one, I want to stay here. This is my team, my home. I think the Bears should keep Jaylon Johnson. Now, Ryan Poles isn't doing his job if he's not answering the phone call and entertaining any trade at this point. You're a 1-5 football team, but Jaylon Johnson is a valuable piece. He is a guy that you should keep around because I keep hearing him saying, well, why not? Just trade everybody. It's like, well, yeah, I get it. You're still rebuilding. You might even do another mini reset here if you trade the quarterback in the offseason and draft a QB number 1 or number 2 overall. But, like, you need to rebuild with some good players, and Jaylon Johnson is that. I've got more on why they should keep him and extend him here in just a moment. But I do want to talk about our sponsor on today's show. That is Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports. Never had more fun than I have with Prize Picks. It's a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. And if you're looking to spice up your game days, Prize Picks is the game for you. How does it work, you ask? Well, it's pretty simple. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they will go for more or less than their Prize Picks projections. I've got a pick 3 here this week that I'm rolling right now. I like DJ Moore. I think he's going to hit the more on receiving yards this week, even if it's Tyson Bagent. I just think they're going to get him involved. Najee Harris has struggled this year. I think he goes less there. He's been splitting carries with Jaylen Warren. And then Tua Tagovailoa has a tough matchup this week. On the road against Philadelphia, the Eagles are going to come out pissed after losing to the Jets. 280 plus, that's tough. I'm going to go less there. 10 to win 50. I like this right here for Prize Picks. You can win up to 25 times your money if you do up to 6 players. So check them out, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100 at Prize Picks. You're not competing against other people like pros and sharks. It's just you versus the Prize Picks stat projection. So get started today, prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS. You look at Jaylon Johnson's coverage stats this year. I know he missed a couple of games, and that is like the one thing you can point to. Well, he seems to have minor injuries pop up, and that's true. But he's been healthy for the most part in his career, and when he plays, he's very good, and he's having his best year yet. He's never given up less completion percentage than he has this year. QB rating when targeted, less than 70, which is very good. He's given up 89 yards in 4 games played, so he's basically given up 20, 25 yards a game. That's like a catch or 2. He's got a breakup. Doesn't have an interception, but he does have a forced fumble. He has not given up a touchdown. They don't throw his way that often. They just don't. Now, a little bit of that is because Tyreek Stevenson's a rookie on the other side, but a lot of it is because Jaylon Johnson's a good player. You keep this guy around, in my opinion. He's been a great teammate. He wants to be here, and he's been productive. And by the way, he's only 24 years old. You give this guy a 3 or 4 year extension, at the end of that deal, he's still 27, 28. He's not even old then. So I just think there's way too many reasons to keep him versus trading him. Now, if some team shocks you and is willing to give you a first, that might change things. Second, I'm thinking about it. Third or less, I'm keeping Jaylon Johnson. I'm playing this out. I would pay him. I think you could get him at a minor discount too due to his minor injury history. And if I'm Ryan Poles, I'm heavily considering that because I think he can be a key piece for this defense for a very, very long time. What would you do with Jaylon Johnson? Type T for trade or K for keep. Here's what you guys think down in the comments. Now, Jaquan Brisker makes his plea as well. He doesn't want to see Jaylon Johnson or anyone go anywhere. He said on 670 The Score as well that he doesn't want the Bears to be trade deadline sellers. Jaylon Johnson, others rumored in trades, guys like Eddie Jackson, Darnell Mooney. Of course, the deadline is exactly 2 weeks away on October 31st as Halloween looms, and we find out what the Bears do between now and then when it comes to trading. Look, they're not going to be buyers. I think we know that. But the question is, how much will they sell, if at all? Here's what Brisker had to say. I feel like Jaylon and other guys are great players. They pour a lot into the Chicago Bears, their heart and soul, especially Jaylon. He's one of the top corners in the league. If you watch the games, 33, Jaylon Johnson's number, is barely getting the ball thrown at him. I just see him being a Bear forever. Same with Eddie Jackson, he goes on. I just see him being a Bear for life. He's been here for 7 years, poured his heart and soul. He's a playmaker. I feel like we got to get back to the old generation where we have loyalty to the players. We keep players on the same team. Now, let me just say this. I respect this from Jaquan Brisker. He's talking very highly of two guys that have probably helped mentor him quite a bit, especially a guy like Eddie Jackson, who he plays next to. I appreciate you going to bat for your teammates and wanting to keep them around. But there's always a but, right? Here's the reality. When you lose games, when you're 1-5, when you're in position to rack up even more draft capital, the trade rumors are going to be there. Jaylon Johnson understands it. He acknowledged it. And Ryan Poles, as a young general manager, has some tough decisions to make. Now, I've said it. I would keep Jaylon Johnson. Now, I'm answering every phone call. You got to do that as a GM. You just have to. A team might shock you. You might get a first. Who knows? But I'm not trading him just to trade him. Like, I would still try to work out an extension if a reasonable price can be reached. But the reality is I think these 5 players in particular could be on the move potentially. Jaylon Johnson, Darnell Mooney. We've talked a lot about both of them. Both are in contract years. Both are guys that other teams would like to acquire. Eddie Jackson, he's under contract through next year, but he's getting older. I would be okay with moving Eddie. I know what Jaquan said, but the injuries seem to be piling up. He's got a banged-up foot right now. Like, can you get a 5th-round pick for Eddie Jackson? If you can, I think you have to consider that. Cody Whitehair, I don't know if anybody would take him, but to me, this is his last season in Chicago. If you could get a late day 3 pick, I would do it. And then Yannick Ngakoue. I like Ngakoue. I'd be open to bringing him back, but the production hasn't been great. He signed a 1-year deal. This team's not contending. I mean, I got to think he would at least be open to the idea of getting shipped out to a contender. So I think he's a name to potentially monitor as well. So make the call. What say you? Name a player that you believe the Bears should go ahead and trade away. Maybe you do want to trade Jaylon Johnson. Maybe you do want to trade Darnell Mooney. Maybe you want to trade Justin Fields. I just don't think a midseason trade for a quarterback who now has a hand injury is very likely, but who knows? Crazier things have happened in this world. So let me know who you guys want to trade. And if you have multiple players, go ahead and drop their names in the comments. All right, that's going to do it for today's edition of Chicago Bears Now. Tons of more content to come this week, and, of course, our live show on Thursday. Stay tuned. Keep subscribed here. We'll see you soon. Bear down.